Finished another session with BizGear and doing really well on progressing with developing the sales tools. Both of the reps have now gone through and completed categorizing their clients into category 1, 2 and 3. We also have had them go out and test run the client products audit sheets. So they've only gone out and done a couple each, but we've had some really interesting feedback from those. The Rep 2 went out and identified 2 product categories with one of the clients that he's taken through the process. Identified 2 categories that they're not currently selling, and has already started the conversation to introduce one of those 2 categories, and presented them with a booklet, a catalogue, and is working on looking at some pricing for them. So it's really interesting that just this little sheet of paper, and he hasn't even gone through the rest of his clients. This was just the test, the first test, and he's already identified opportunities. So that's looking quite promising. His feedback was really positive. He said, "I feel like I'm walking into my meetings armed now," which is great. We want to give them the tools so that they can have a competent, worthwhile conversation with their clients. It's actually going to add value to the client. So that was great feedback, and very early days. There's also a couple of little things that we want to tweak in those sheets. So we're just refining them, which is why we haven't rolled them out. We've only just done a few tests and brought them back just to see what the feedback was from the clients in going through the exercise, and from the reps and taking their clients through the exercise. But so far it's been quite positive, and it's showing potential. The business owner was a little concerned though, because his opening comment at the beginning of the meeting was, "Well, we're going to have all these pieces of paper with information all over them, but what are we doing with it?" But of course, I've already thought of that, and there's a plan for that, and I shared the plan, and he's very happy, and it makes sense now. So it's pretty simple. We're going to, within those audit sheets, there is a section for opportunities, and a little opportunity strategy section. That section is there for a reason, because I want them to incorporate that into their weekly sales meetings. And so we're getting an overall snapshot of each client by doing these product audits. And they're going to be useful long term for ongoing activities with the client, but we need to bring that back to the right now with, okay, well, how's that going to add value today? So what we're going to do with those individual strategies is we're going to pick a product. So in this instance, where Rep 2 identified there were 2 product categories that BizGear weren't currently selling this client, we're going to select one, and we're going to focus on that specific product category for a 90-day period. And it might take 90 days to determine whether or not we're actually going to be able to sell this product to this client, because these clients often have multiple people making purchasing decisions, and different people in different departments purchasing different products. So we may not even have a relationship with the decision maker for this new product that we want to introduce. So that then means that we need to work out, okay, well, how are we going to get the introduction? And then when we get the introduction, what are we going to say? So each one of these new opportunities needs to be thought out properly and given a little bit of time to be developed. So we're thinking initially that 90 days is a good time frame, because 90 days goes pretty quick. Sounds like a long time to be able to make a sale, but when you think about it, it's really not that long. It's enough time for us to be able to go through different options to try and see if we can get the client to give us a try for that particular product. But if by the end of 90 days we've not been successful, then we can safely say, okay, we'll forget that particular opportunity for now and move on to the next one. And so we're going to build a simple little spreadsheet that's going to become a reporting tool for the weekly sales meetings, where for each client that we have in the list, we're going to be working on their current product strategy for that 90-day period. And in this instance, for the client that I just mentioned, when we hit the end of that 90 days, we move into the second product, have a go at that for 90 days, see if we can optimize that client fully. Because if we are successful in introducing both of those product lines, that then puts BizGear in a position where they're selling everything that they can sell to that client. So we've then optimized that client, which is the whole idea of that's the name of the game. So that is looking promising at this point. Obviously, in the real world, we know we're not going to get every product into every client because they've got existing relationships. Obviously, if they need things, they're getting them from somewhere. But we also know that in a lot of instances, BizGear can outperform competing suppliers on, if not just price alone, then perhaps on service, and ideally on both. So again, that should end up being a win-win. So that means we're also updating the sales meeting agenda with the additional items, so the review of the spreadsheet and making sure that we're using those product audit sheets consistently as well. So both of those items have been added into the standard weekly sales meeting agenda to make sure that we're consistent and we keep the focus on those things as we go forward. On the operational side of things, we made a little bit of progress too. Actually, one of the things that's in the operational plan ties back in to the sales reps and the sales reps toolkit. I've mentioned this in one of the previous videos. We wanted to put together a visual guide. There's a particular set of protective equipment that is quite confusing to navigate in terms of what do you need, what do I apply in this specific situation. And it's not only confusing for the customers, it's confusing for the reps. And today I saw what looks almost like a final draft of a really well presented visual guide for both the reps and the customers on purchasing, selecting which of those personal protective equipment items are going to be best for them in the situations that they're going to use. So that looks great, and that's really promising for a lot of the other products that the reps are selling. And this potentially is going to end up being these lists are potentially going to end up being key parts of our sales reps toolkit, because they give structure. When you're adding the client audits, the product audits, and the visual guides together, it makes the conversation for the client it makes so much more sense from the client's point of view, and it's easier for them to make decisions, which means it's easier for the reps to have their conversations, and ultimately it's easier to make sales. So that was good. And we had a couple of other little operational things progressing too. We've been working on some of the administrative procedures at the back end. We've now got their library of video procedures, we've now got them indexed into our internal electronic online system, which is going to make it, that's going to then populate their internal training and make it a lot simpler as we start to grow the admin team, which is also part of what we want to do, and just bring in a few more support people as we start to ramp the sales up. It's down the track, but we want to make sure that we're ready for it when the time comes, and that we have everything in place when it comes time to start hiring people. So that's also progressing, and that was pretty much it. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go around the discipline of using that sales meeting agenda, following the reporting, and their consistency around using the client audit sheets. I have a feeling that it's going to go reasonably well, just because of the feedback that we've had from both of the reps. Actually said that it's changed the way that they think about their interactions with their clients, and it's opened their eyes to the potential that they have with each of their clients, which is surprising, but in a good way. So we're starting to see some nice progress, and I'll update you in the next one.